The time is now 10 o'clock on August 29th, 2022. I call the Lisle Library District Personnel and Policy Committee meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Marjorie Bartelli.
Here.
Jenny Norton.
Here.
Emily Sostek.
Here.
Sarah Nguyen.
Here.
Tatiana Weinstein.
Here.
Beth McClellan.
Here.
Okay, thank you. Second item on the agenda is opportunity for visitors to speak, general public comment period. Seeing none, we will move on to item number 3, approve minutes of the June 2nd, 2022 Personnel Policy Committee meeting. Can I get a motion and a second, please?
Make a motion to approve the minutes of the June 2nd, 2022 Personnel and Policy Committee meeting.
A second.
Okay, discussion. I noticed a missing period. I don't know if it really matters on page 4 of the packet, page 3 of the minutes. That first paragraph at the top,
Oh.
she also suggested having signature lines. It's just missing a period there, but that's the only thing I noticed. I don't know if anyone had anything else that they
No.
needed. Okay, all right, seeing no other points, roll call please.
Marjorie Bartelli.
Aye.
Sarah Nguyen.
Aye.
Jenny Norton.
Aye.
Emily Sostek.
Aye. Motion passes. Item number 4, policy 315, loan periods draft discussion. That starts on page 5 of our packets. And I'm gonna turn it over to the director to discuss.
Okay, so we have a lot of policies in here, but a lot of the changes are pretty quick and nerdy. I think this is the first time I've included the current policy with the draft with strike-throughs and then the clean copy. So you can tell me if you like that arrangement. I think it helps a little bit. So with policy 315, this is pretty simple. We've specified, if you want to look at the draft where there's strike-throughs and highlights, we've specified audio SMP in the first highlighted area. We're allowing new video games and DVDs to be holdable. These are some changes that are happening because when we were in more of a COVID, we're still in COVID, but when we were in more of a COVID situation, we've extended the checkout periods and loan periods, and so we would like to continue with that practice because we have enough supply to give provide patrons. So we're allowing for a 1-week checkout for the new DVDs and Blu-rays. We've clarified the second highlighted area in the first column. We've increased the Roku checkout period due to demand. We've also increased our supply of Rokus. We've clarified the Launchpad description and extended the checkout period due to demand as well. And we've allowed for renewals of the Rokus due to, again, expanding the collection. We've allowed for renewals of the DVD player. We've also removed the literacy headphones from the collection and removed the literacy designation on the DVD player. And then lastly, we've corrected the acronym for SMP. Any questions?
So I have a question. I think I brought this up at some point before, but under considerations number 1, where it says items with holds cannot be renewed, there's still, at least in my little world, there's confusion when we get the emails that tell us when things are due, that remind us when things are due, because if someone has put a hold on it, it'll say like renewable and it'll say no, but then if you still had time initially, it'll still say how many times it can be renewed and it still has that number there. And so it gets confusing. And I should have printed it out. I apologize for not printing it out. But it's like, it'll say, no, I don't have one on this one, but it'll say, so let me just show you this real quick. And I can tell you, I don't have one of the ones that I'm talking about right now, but see how it says it says renewals remaining. It says renewals remaining and it tells you the number, and then here it says due. So sometimes it'll say renewals remaining 3, but then it's due yes because someone has a hold on it, and then it gets confusing because of that. And I know we've talked about it before, and I think it was an issue with Polaris.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know if there's something, I mean, we could ask for, every year we go through an enhancement seminar with Polaris, and all the libraries who are Polaris libraries throw enhancements at them, and then they try to do what they can by the software. So that's something we can take note of, and maybe
Okay.
there's an asterisk or something that can be.
I mean, because there's
Coded.
something, there is like text that says like, I want to say there's something that says, there's some text in the email that says something about it, but, you know, I don't read the text, I just look at what things are due, you know what I mean? Like, I just do that, I skip over, which I know is not what you're supposed to do, you're supposed to read it all. Jenny's looking at me like, why don't you read it all?
I'm with you 100%.
But I'm not reading it all, and so if I'm just looking at those columns, if there's a, I don't know, I mean, if there's a way to do that, I just think it would be, I would feel like it was clearer than to remind me.
Noted.
Okay, thanks.
Nothing we can do,
Okay.
but I can.
Because it's through Polaris.
Yes, I can pass that along.
I agree. And I'm wondering, we have a loan period of 3 weeks. I think that's long enough, possibly 2. I mean, but if it's renewable 3 times, do they get another 3 weeks each time?
Mhm.
I mean, so you're talking 9 to 12 weeks of having, I don't know what our supply of these items are. I mean, do we have a large, like the CDs and I just know when I was younger, I mean, I could go through CDs like, you know, I mean, you wanted to hear more and more. So it just seems like a long period. That's my comment. And I'm also confused. I think you might have just explained it. So you have a 3-time renewable. So the holdable only means that someone who's got something, you check something out, but I place a hold on it. That just means after the 3 times the week, it comes to me.
The
Or the
initial,
first
like-
person on the hold.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm
It stops being renewable at that point.
okay, all right.
Mhm.
Okay,
That's the catch, yeah.
And then if you don't return it, then the library calls you and says, you know, this was due and someone's waiting for it.
well, I don't know how anyone else feels about a 3-week and then 3 renewables, but if that's been standard and it works, I'm
That's
good
been
with that.
standard and is standard across the board for many libraries.
Okay,
And we went, I mean, I forgot when did we last do this? Maybe in,
Well, we did something in
21.
2021, but we did it a couple times in 2020, and I feel like that was with
Mhm.
COVID, we must have done.
I think prior to that, maybe in 2016, is when we changed from 2 weeks to 3 weeks,
okay,
I think. And I think that was to better match what other libraries were offering.
okay. Okay, thank you.
I kind of have one that goes along that line. I was a little questionable about the Launchpad tablets, just because it says there's an item limit of 5, there's a loan period of 3 weeks, and then you can renew it for 3 times. My question was just like, I know they're popular, so is there enough? So, I mean, have you guys ever run out? I guess is my, like, have they ever all been checked out at once?
I couldn't say
Oh, okay.
definitively right now, but we do have enough, and I did
Oh, okay.
consult with all of the department directors who oversee these collections, and they were
Okay.
comfortable.
Okay, because I was like, wow, 3 weeks, that's what kind of, I was like, an interactive tablet, they could have it for 6
Right.
weeks. I was like,
Most
whoa.
Most people don't keep
Don't keep 'em?
everything. They
Oh,
wanna
okay.
come in and
Mhm.
refresh and they return and things like
Okay,
that, so
yeah, that's
generally
just
the-
was my question, that's all.
Jenny?
I'm okay.
She's okay, wonderful.
Okay, so, no other comments or anything on that one?
It's
Okay,
great.
so are we comfortable then with this revision going to the full board at our meeting in September?
Yes,
Okay, we
great.
can advance that one. All right, item number 5, policy 330, rails, fines and fees, draft discussion. Turn over to the director.
Okay, so this is one I just happened upon because it's really a tidy up policy, has not been updated in 9 years. So here we just have some better language regarding the rail services, a statement regarding compliance with the codes, and a simpler statement regarding abiding policies and fulfilling any outstanding obligations with rails. The strikeout section is unnecessary. It's got outdated information in there such as the 16mm films, so it's just not necessary. So it's pretty quick and dirty, this one.
Okay, Marjorie?
Man, how extensive are the rails policies? I mean, I guess we don't all need to know the policies, but if
They
Would it
mirror
be an
ours
idea-
quite a bit.
there are,
And we
okay.
borrow and take, but it's really, this policy is just saying that we will follow everything they have.
Okay,
We will comply with what
so
they
there's
have
no
laid
need
out.
to educate us on what the policies are, not in this.
I think they're available to you
Okay.
if you wanted to.
All right, just,
Probably.
Jenny?
I'm okay.
Sarah?
I was just wondering, I think this was a while ago for a policy where it was like, it was stated Lisle Library District and then LLD. And then we had to put the Lisle Library District in front of or use the LLD like instead. I was just wondering if, like in front of all of the LLD, like abbreviations, would we have to put Lisle Library District?
Just the first one.
Just the
just,
first one? Okay. Yeah, that's it.
Yes, Jenny?
Let me double check, because the page 10 is the final, right?
Yes.
Okay. ILL in caps, but interlibrary loan right before it, all lowercase.
I think that's how we've historically used interlibrary loan, but we'll double check.
Okay. Well, and if you look at the original policy, they didn't do the abbreviation for it, so it just said interlibrary loan. So now the abbreviation is in there, so that's where
And we use it so much in other
Yeah.
policies and in
Yeah,
our
don't wanna
everywhere.
throw a wrench into
I will
inconsistency
look at
everywhere.
that.
Okay, so the director will check on interlibrary loan and if it needs to be capitalized. Otherwise, depending on the results of that, we're comfortable with this going towards the full board meeting on September or whatever the date is, because I'm not
Yes.
in my calendar. Okay, thank you. All right, moving on. Number 6 on the agenda, policy 675, keys and keyless access systems draft discussion. I'll turn it over to the director.
Okay, so as you can see, the current policy is 3 sentences long about, but important. And so this policy hasn't changed since 2002, and with the renovation, we're gonna have a new layer of access. We're gonna have keyless entry as well as keyed entry, hence introducing this new key policy. So the name of the policy has changed. An introductory paragraph was added that also references our security policy because they are related. And policy 670 also references locks and keys. Then I broke down the policy.
Available detective, 4200, available detective, 4200.
Then I broke down the policy into 2 sections, kind of categorizing one section as responsibility and one section as audits. So it's a little more fleshed out. I'm not gonna read it, but if there's anything in there you'd like to change.
So I would like to see periods at the end of each of the numbered, the 1, 2, 3, and then the 1 and 2. Especially because, at least in, in the number 2 under B, there is a complete sentence in there that has a period and then,
Yes.
and I wanna say we've had this discussion about other policies before where we have put the periods in, so I just,
Apologies.
no, it's okay, just for consistency's
Yes.
sake. Marjorie?
I'd like to know how you define administrative office. In the original, we have administrative assistant. What players consist the administrative office? Is the director?
Administrative staff. So
So,
the office can be my office, the assistant director's office, and can be the file cabinet office, that's personnel, file cabinets and fireproof fire cabinets are, but anyone who is in the administrative staff offices.
okay, I understand that, it's just, to me, going from one, I like the idea, not that it's viable, but very few people having access to the keys. And-
Select Administrative office staff,
maybe something to clarify. Administrative office is very broad to me. I worked in a large company. I'm not saying it's comparable to the library, but the administrative office was huge. You know, we had several employees. And just a suggestion, not a disqualifier.
I think that makes sense, that it's kind of limit the number of people.
Right. I don't know if it's more confusing to say select, but I don't think the general public is going to wonder who's to select.
Yeah.
I don't know, how does, sorry.
Jenny, we'll go around that.
I agree that it went from what sounded like one person, administrative assistant, to a broad term that could be many, and I think it would probably be helpful to staff to just always know who's the one or three people who, you know, are to be receiving this. So it doesn't, you know, whatever's the clearest way without making it, you know, listing out every individual title.
Right.
well, in the previous policy, it was never always the administrative assistant. It was always maybe a handful of, maybe five staff, so
Is it isolated to just within a department or a subset of a department?
within the department.
Okay, so maybe it's saying department.
Sarah?
Yeah, no, I agree, just trying to make it a little more specific. Just so, yeah, it doesn't sound like a group of people.
So I have another question then. So that would in the corrected, page 12, sorry. B audits under number 2's first sentence. So those people would determine, we say the administrative office shall determine proper access permissions for staff. All of them can determine who,
Are you wondering like whose responsibility it is, like
Yeah.
under, like whose job title is this?
right, I mean, so anyone in your administrative office, we're calling it now, select
Yes,
administrator,
yes.
may determine who gets the key to what.
So if I'm not on premises, Beth could issue a key card to a vendor who needs access to the mechanical room, for instance.
So it's kind of a,
If Beth is not there, then perhaps Sandy in
Okay.
admin, because it's part of the, it's a software, service that you could administer key cards to people. So I don't know if you want me to lay out the job titles that have access or just say select, cause it could change.
So here's the thing, I mean, if we're putting in select, just the way that it's written right now, like I don't feel like we can we can just substitute select administrative office staff into every place that says administrative office, like I don't think it
right, so,
flows.
We could say it in the introductory paragraph and then refer to administrative office, because I think then you understand it's select administrative office staff. No?
So maybe we can do that whole thing where it's like select administrative office staff and then like, you know how like you see in like mortgages and stuff or like any type of like loan where it says then in parentheses like further noted or whatever identified as such and such in this policy so that we know that
We
that's
could
what we're doing.
footnote, we could
Yeah.
footnote.
That would be good, yeah, a footnote
yeah.
would be great,
that's a good idea.
yeah. That'd be great because then you can just leave it the way it is and then just add a footnote.
And, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
will you
no, go
finish?
ahead.
Can keyless entry cards be duplicated? I mean, like a key can be duplicated.
So
I
if you
mean,
lost a key, yes.
no, I
would-
meant by, if I had a key card,
No, they're unique.
but could I individually duplicate that on my
At
own?
home,
No, but you know, a service or whatever, I mean,
it's not, you're not supposed to be able to now.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's
Well,
good.
and if someone loses a key card too, you can, through
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
software, you can just
Deactivate it.
deactivate it, right, and then it's.
Okay, that's true, I didn't think of that.
So I could just say I lost mine and then you would just deactivate that one and issue a new one,
Yes.
okay. Jenny?
A question and a thought. I don't know which one I want to do first. Let's do thought. A3 refers to LLD administration. Is that different from the administrative office were mentioned before? Or should we just call that administrative office too?
Probably.
Yeah, probably be consistent.
Okay. And then, well, I guess that turned into a question.
So then it should be to the LLD administrative office, right? So add another.
Mhm.
Jenny, go ahead.
Then, in that vein of, upon dismissal, resignation, et cetera, everything is to be returned. So I'm just wondering, is someone keeping a master list? If more than one person can issue any part of these key security items at any time, and people's access level could change over their tenure. Is someone saying, okay, this person has 2 key cards and a key to this cabinet and a key to that cabinet? Or how is it so that whoever, even if it's been multiple people issuing the pieces, that there's something that when people are checking out, so to speak,
We
they.
do, yes, and so like A1 refers to that, we can be more specific if you'd like.
Okay, no, it's there, it's just, it's, so it implies that every time a new thing has been issued, it's added to that, and then that is referred to in 3 to make sure that all really is all. Okay.
Are you feeling like something in A1, the wording of it should be changed, Jenny?
No, I think maybe it was, the way my brain had already left 1 far behind by the time I got to 3.
Okay.
I don't know if it's too much, but I just 2 words, it's like keep the master list of key holders.
I'm gonna fight you on that one. I think that's
Okay.
terrible. No, just
Okay.
kidding. I'm totally just kidding.
Oh, I'm like, I don't care.
If anyone has a problem with the word "the," I have a problem with that.
I just didn't know, because if we're getting like specific, I don't know if that's just too specific or just leave it like as a list.
I'm on your side. I'll fight anybody who doesn't want to add "the."
I didn't bring my gloves.
The list?
Okay.
The list.
And do you want it to say master list? or
Well,
is-
that's, I was just wondering if that's needed, or if it's just too much, or it just seemed like, just because we were
Official? No,
talking
right.
about like a specific like master list.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Thinking about it, is there any other lists of key holders
Yeah.
versus the master list?
Yeah, that's why I didn't know. I was just like, I don't know, I'm gonna throw it out there.
Well,
But I think it sounds, for me, it sounds a little more under control to call it the master list instead of like a list. We're just gonna keep a list of, this thing. It seems a little more centralized, and everyone knows which one is the list, the master list.
Okay. I'm fine with it.
I've just started thinking more about the word master and what the
Mm.
connotation of master, and so it's starting to. So I know what we're saying, but like,
Authorized
so
list?
maybe.
Okay.
Oh, that's a
An
good word.
authorized list. I like that one.
Mhm.
Because
That feels better.
that's still,
Feels better.
Okay, so shall keep the. So it should be the authorized list or the list of authorized key holders? Right, the list of authorized key holders.
that sounds good. The list of
Jenny?
authorized keys.
It's good.
Marjorie?
I'm okay either way.
Okay. When you are working on the edits, you wanna just kind of see which one sounds better to
Sure.
you? Like flows better as you're reading it out loud later?
Yes, and then remember, if this
And
goes to
then
the full board, they'll have their
discuss
shot
it
at
too.
it too. Yeah.
True. Okay, anything else in this one?
I'm not familiar. I like forward slashes. I use them a lot in life, but I'm not sure I understand if it's where I ordinarily use parentheses and it's the same thing, or it's different in B2.
With the
Denials. I come from parentheses land for use of singular, maybe plural.
You're showing your age.
Is that it?
That's me
That's
too.
very dated. That's like pre-millennium.
Yeah,
I have
prehistoric.
Oh, good. Oh,
Yeah,
all
it's-
right.
it's /s if you're talking about singular and then plural,
I-
but I'm fine with either. I think
I am
we've done
too.
this before though.
Well, and in the original policy, it did have parentheses with, as with these. Cause you can see it in the strikeout. do we want the slash, do we want the parentheses? Jenny, you want the
I
parentheses?
think we gotta ask the younger people on the committee.
Yes.
Sarah?
Not that young,
'Cause we have
but I
very
appreciate
clear
it.
age bias over here on this side, I think.
Yes.
No, I
Way older than
Hey.
you, Jenny.
do parentheses too. I
Can we
don't do forward
yeah,
slashes.
Can we do parentheses?
I think it's more
Okay.
I
commonly
just think we have
accepted
this in-
still.
Do we? And other
Yeah.
ones?
Well, past ones, but that's fine.
I mean, this other one,
Well, you can do
the
a search on all
the
the
current
policies,
policy
right?
was almost 20 years old, the one that had the parentheses in it,
Watch
of
it.
this.
No problem.
We're making a comeback.
No, I hadn't seen it either. I wasn't disagreeing with you. Okay, so we can also have the full board discuss that too, if we need to.
All right, we'll make that change.
Anything else? Okay, are we comfortable putting this policy forward to the full board at the meeting in September?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Then, agenda item number 7, policy 680, property damage draft / discussion. The current starts on 14 and the draft with the edit, the strike throughs is on 15. Director Weinstein.
Okay, so this one also is fairly short, and I just came upon it as I was mulling about in the 600s. But I think, and it merited some it needed some help. So this is another one that has not been revised since 2002. We begin with a better introductory statement, and then I broke it down into 4 categories. So insurance, security, crime, and outcomes. And the previously written policy refers to legal action and criminal activity in a very specific manner, yet it does not reference like protective insurance or security our security policy or outcomes after damage. This previous policy also references a 1983 ordinance. So instead of the board invalidating or officially renouncing the 1983 ordinance, I've added a statement as kind of a nod to the previous board who enacted that ordinance. That's included in your packet. So it just confirms that we would be reporting a crime to the proper authorities. So a little beefier edit here, but up for discussion.
I'm gonna start with Sarah first, I'm gonna go
All right.
clockwise this time.
There's only one word that, I don't know, sounds off, and it's in D, and it says the board may entertain other options as remedy. Is there any way to put consider or use another word? I don't know, maybe that's just me. Because I was like, entertain, I'm like, I don't know.
I would agree with that. I also have a question on that statement, but
Okay.
we can discuss changing the word.
Let's do
Jenny.
that let's talk that first and then we'll go back to you, Sarah.
Yeah.
So we're on D, okay. Marjorie, do you
Oh,
have something else with that
well, in that
sentence?
statement, the board may entertain other options as remedy. So if something was damaged and we made a repair, but we could include an improvement of what we had, it wouldn't be same for same. So I don't know a good example. So a window gets broken and the frame is damaged. And then we decide, well, we're going to go with a different frame or window or whatever. So we don't have to stick to the same replacement or improve. We would improve while we're fixing something,
You could, yes.
property damage.
That's what this says.
Okay, that's what it says. Okay.
Or allows or permits, yes.
I mean, you
It
know,
could be same for same, or it could be another choice to improve.
okay. I'm good with that.
Jenny, your thoughts on that last sentence?
I think consider is a better word than entertain in that last sentence.
Alright, so consider. Alright, Sarah, back to you, because we went away from you.
That was it.
Oh, that was the only thing you had?
Yeah, that was the only thing I had. It was
Okay.
just that word.
Alright, thank you. Alright, going clockwise. Jenny?
I don't know, I think I'm not thinking about the policy wording when I'm now in a mental tangent about the scenario that could come up where like somebody graffitis the outside of the library and then we decide to make it an art wall. that's what we're saying here is like, we could just put a frame around it now and a plaque and say, created by, you know, teenager X, you know, this day, 2022. So I mean,
I don't know if that would follow the ensure aesthetic continuity, maybe.
an extension of Gallery 777, you know? Like I said, my brain can't really come back from that. I don't think anyone's gonna say, aha, they updated the LLD policy to now, encourage my vandalism, because they're gonna just, make lemonade out of their lemons, but
I
it's,
see what you're saying.
it's, it's just that's where my mind is, so I don't have anything else relevant at this time.
Thank you. Marjorie?
I'm good with it. I appreciated your enclosing the ordinance R3. And I think it's really well written. It really covers everything. It's pretty strict. And I like that.
Yeah, I also like that we are being careful here to honor
Mhm.
precedent.
Right. Mhm. But I'm good with it, other than the entertain.
Got it. Okay. Sounds good.
Did we decide on the word we're going to use?
We're gonna use consider.
Consider, okay, thank you.
All right. So are we comfortable sending this one to the full board in September? Awesome. Okay. Item agenda 8, policy 700, purchasing, expenditures, contracts, and grants. Draft discussion. That one, the current is on page 19, and then the draft with the strikeouts is on 20. Director Weinstein.
Okay, so this is another one from 2002 and it's only been updated once. And we have updated a number of our financial policies in past years, but this one's remained unchanged for some reason, I'm not sure why. It's just, I was in the 700s and I'm like, let's look at this one again. So I changed the title to better reflect what is being laid out in the policy, and also included a grant section that is referred to in the previous policy, but there's nothing really sectioning out grants as a separate item. So again, hopefully a better introductory statement and then a breakdown between expenditures, contracts, and grants. A better grouping of what was laid out in the previously written policy. The newly written policy also references policy 705, which is our capital projects policy, which the old policy did not do. It also references the Local Records Act, which the previous policy did not do. And the previous policy mentioned keeping the board apprised of terms of grants, but did not say much more than that. So this one has a little bit more flesh on the bones, but we can discuss.
Sarah, I'm starting with you again.
I liked it. I thought it was really good, kind of like the call outs for the Local Records Act and the Policy 705. It just looks really good and easy to understand.
Okay, thank you. Jenny?
Can't say it better than that.
Okay, Marjorie?
Since it refers to policy 705, with the amounts, the under 25,000, so on, I'm comfortable with it. It's good.
Good. I'm good with it as well. So are we comfortable sending it to the full board in September?
Yep.
Awesome. All right, that was like the easiest one. Okay. Item agenda number 9, policy 710, fund balances, draft discussion. Current is on page 22, 23, and 24. And then draft with strikeouts starts on page 25.
Oh, okay, yes, this is another quick and dirty, just requires some cleanup here. Under item number 4, we've struck the wording, working cash as well as .02 fund, as the board has dissolved, these special funds. The footnotes also reference this change. And then lastly, under item 6, we removed the finance director reference as we no longer retain one on staff. And we've included the authorized financial vendor instead. That's really all the changes.
Marjorie?
I know it's probably understood, but, excuse me, in number 2, throughout, C and D, I think there's another one. Referring specific purposes by a government itself. That's pretty broad. Do we mean, so when we have a grant, it's usually specific to a governmental agency. It's the Illinois State so-and-so. It could be the US something. I don't know, just saying a government. Are we saying it's, funded by a state or I'm not explaining myself right.
Like
but
state or national or?
national or I don't know, just government. Do we all understand government?
Well, I believe this particular item number, the definitions or the ABC through D came from GASB.
Okay,
And so that's what I think the previous board pulled from for these definitions or explanations. And as you know, the library is a government entity, so that's why I think it's written in that.
Yeah, 2C is like is explaining committed funds. And as the footnote says, we really don't have committed funds because it would be like, if we had a FICA fund to take Social Security out, some libraries do it that way. We don't. It's just out of our general operation corporate fund.
okay. Okay,
Somehow I missed that footnote. Thank you for pointing the footnote out. I missed it when I was.
yeah.
All
that's
of
good.
these are footnoted.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know, I see it. Okay. Do you have anything else for me?
no, thank you.
Jenny?
I like the eliminating of the .02 fund references. Did that send you back to other policies where we know that it lurked as well?
I don't think we have it anywhere else.
Okay, all right, that was it. We shook it off? Okay.
Yeah.
And then I'm mentioning it just so that we can see if anybody else cares, because I'm not even sure I care, but we've got that Oxford comma action going on the very last page. Where was it? Right after LLD authorized financial vendors. There's a lot of commas in that whole sentence, so I was kind of, so right at 6, monitoring
I'm a big
targets.
fan of the Oxford comma, Jenny.
Yeah, I know, so we're gonna have to, go to the mat on this one, but. So I just wanted to state it.
She just wants to say that there's a lot of commas.
I could live without that comma after vendors, but I wanna hear everyone else say they like it so much that my lukewarm feeling about it is overturned.
Well, I feel like the fact that there's an Oxford comma in the first part of that sentence means it should be the second part as well, because then we're being consistent. Plus, I always defer to the Oxford comma.
Yes.
Anyone else have strong feelings about the Oxford comma?
I think it belongs after vendors. I think it separates the 3.
Sarah?
Yeah, it was just easy for me to read and understand.
Okay, so we're gonna keep it?
My lukewarm feelings happily yield
Thank you.
to strong
To
Oxford
my
comma
strong
lovers.
desire to use Oxford comma. Okay, did anyone have anything else in this policy? Okay, are we comfortable sending it to the full board then in September? Yes, we are?
Do you know the Vampire Weekend song,
No,
Oxford comma?
I'll have to Google that.
That's important, that's important reading for you.
Don't have enough.
Alright, item 10 on the agenda is policy 715, authorization for library director to sign checks / accounts payable and payroll draft discussion. Starts on page 31 is the current, and then the draft with strikeouts and everything starts on 32. Director Weinstein.
Okay, so last on our list, this policy is 11 years old and I don't believe it's properly titled. It really involves accounts payable and payroll, so and it talks about the responsible parties, yes, and their actions. So we keep the same section breakdowns here, just better delineate and clarify what actually happens with the tasks at hand.
Jenny, I'm gonna start with you.
Okay. I don't have specific wording comments, but I had a sort of question in my mind about internal controls and what is standard for libraries. So I understand we don't have a separate HR function, but in the world that I come from, segregation of duties is important, and where possible, you want to prevent any risks of paying people who should not be paid. So I'm just wondering what best practices are, and are we following them in this, allowing the director or assistant director to sign payroll checks?
So Beth, do you wanna walk through the process of, I mean, this is how we've always done it.
Sure.
And our auditor does walk us through that separation of powers in terms of, so the department directors, they put in their schedules and they approve their staff. Then it goes through, I think Beth or Jackie,
Both.
yes, and so then we check the schedules against the inputted schedules of the staff, and that's kind of our procedure.
We have sort of, if a certain employee should be working 30 hours, if they're not working 30 hours, more or less, we'll question that. For example, it should match their, as Tatiana said, their schedule. So Jackie and myself have an idea, Jackie being the office coordinator, who are full-time, so we know exactly the rate that they should be paid. They should be working the matching hours, and if they're not, there should be vacation, sick time. So those are the internal procedures about how we check time cards and approve.
And it's automated, it's not like a paper process, it's, so.
I think my question goes to, I need to ask you guys to think not like you are being ethical. I'm asking you to think in your position, how could you achieve something unethically? Is there a way for you to, I don't know, just make up a bunch of different scenarios, either with collusion or without, to
Fake a time card.
yeah, somebody retires, but you continue to pay, but you've now changed their address and, now it's, or I don't know, I'm just saying that there's, or a completely made up employee in the first place that doesn't exist.
So you're asking about like oversight for payroll that's beyond the director and assistant director?
Yeah, or just like how do the auditors get comfortable that there's not anything that you could do that you shouldn't do? Not that you are, just that there's safeguards that would stop it.
Well, I mean, we're kind of the top tier, because we don't have an outside vendor overseeing us in terms of payroll. But our auditor, I mean, I think that's a good question for the auditor when they come and do our audit this fall. But they do ask for, in their field work when they come, not exactly what.
They ask for the procedure, so.
Well, not just the procedure, but they also see, and I
They'll
don't
do
know what to call
sampling
them.
probably, right?
Sorry?
They'll do sampling.
Yes.
Yeah, sampling, they ask for the records of the payroll and, how staff submit payroll, submit vacation or time off. So there are like, software safeguards in terms of requests. They have to go through us to be accepted. And then that goes into another system, that online software system that says, yes, we will now pay you. So there's kind of two levels of time-stamped request, but we are the top tier of, yes, this is correct. Moving on to the payroll vendor.
Yeah, I think maybe if you could sort of send that question the auditor's way, because they'll know where I'm thinking. I don't want to, bog us down with, have you, close this potential loophole or that potential loophole, or, you know, like this scenario, would you be able to create this fictitious employee this way? And, you know, does your software help you segregate this way or not? You know, just, and just to know, because you guys are also sort of the point people for the audit. So you would also know where the weak spots are in their procedures, what they're checking, what they're not checking. And you would know from that if you could sneak certain things below their radar. So just trying to see if, knowing how ethical you are, we could make sure that the auditors have considered that segregation of duties, potential risk. Because I understand, I mean, there are plenty of environments that do not have separate HR functions, or, you know, whether outsourced or in-house, that would then be that additional independent check to say, okay, you know, these are all the real people, these are all the real times worked, these are all the correct rates, et cetera.
Okay.
Sarah, do you have anything?
You know?
Marjorie?
Well, along with that, then, might we include something to the effect of stating that these controls, whatever we choose to call it, have been, you know, certified, verified by our auditors? You know, mention auditors? Or is that not appropriate under accounts payable and payroll? I mean, I would feel more comfortable as the public, you know. In other policies, do we mention our auditors? You know, that we're audited? Not that it's vital, but I mean,
I would have to look through some of our financial policies. I'm sure that there's a reference. But if you want to specifically pull out in this policy the controls in place, I mean, it does in a way when it talks about how the Board of Trustees come through and are assigned for review, things like that. But I think Jenny's referring to controls regarding the staff and making sure there's no problems. So I can try and pull the right language from our auditors regarding those controls,
Yes,
and maybe I'm just not awake enough to think of
No, it's okay.
the
Yeah.
levels
No.
of like timestamping and different software programs we have regarding this, but I can do that.
do the other trustees feel that might be? I mean, it doesn't have to be, it's just a suggestion.
Well, so here's my question, I mean, do we wanna hold off on putting this to the full board then until we hear back from the director after she's touched base with the auditors to see like,
I
to
think so.
include that?
If you want, I mean, I'm just looking at the history of this policy, and it was adopted and revised in the same calendar year. So there's
Right.
also no reason to hold it up from being considered updated, and then perhaps layering an additional edit after we hear back from the auditors.
I feel like we've
If-
done that before with something else recently too, we sent it and then we said, we'll revise it again after the
If
fact.
needed, yeah,
Yeah.
if when we hear back from them, that
Okay.
signals additional edits.
So
So
waiting on this one.
No, so what we were saying is if everyone's agreeable, we'll send it forward
With the update.
and then
Right.
with the updates that it is now, and then, but we'll mention that we're
Pending
moving into this other,
discussion.
you know, the auditor discussion. And then if we need to then revise it later, we'll pull it back to another meeting. Just because, as Jenny just said, it was originally adopted on April 8th, 1998, and then revised 8 months later. So not feeling like we can't just put it forward.
Well, let me throw this at you. So what if I communicate with our auditor and he's got the sentence that we need
Mhm.
and I make a letter C
Mhm.
titled controls?
I
Would
think you can bring
open
it to the,
that?
yeah, to the
Sure.
next board meeting.
Sure,
I think that-
if timing
that-
works, if
Okay,
you wanna
yeah,
accelerate it.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that
If
makes
it's
it.
before, yeah, if it's done before the September meeting, that would be great, and then we
Okay.
can do that.
Never against efficiency, I don't think.
Yeah.
That would be.
Okay, so we're good with that one?
Mhm.
Okay. So that was it for the policies.
Well, did anybody have any questions or comments on this policy? Because I think I sort of stole the
Did
microphone
anyone have any
on
other
that.
questions or comments on this policy?
It's pretty straightforward, I think.
Since we just were talking about that other piece and we didn't go through the rest of it. Are we good with the other stuff?
Mhm.
So here's a question, and again, we'll put this forward, but do we need to have something in place that says like how trustees are trained to review and review the invoices and bills? So like, for example, I'm gonna call myself out here. When I was initially trained on how to do that, I always was just told I would go to the front ones that are in that alphabetical, like the files with the letters. Not realizing that there were the ones behind that are sideways from the middle, the one that we're also supposed to look at. And I didn't know that until like 2 years ago. And I've been on the board since 2017. So I didn't know that because the individual that trained me, another trustee that trained me, did not say anything about those ones in the back. And then I happened to ask one time and I was like, what are these? And it was like, oh, you're supposed to be, what? Like I had no idea. So is there something, like, should it be that it's a trustee that trains another trustee how to do this? Or should this be something that is from office staff that trains us how to do this? And like to make sure that we all know what we're supposed to be doing? Just so there's continuity there, or, and if so, should that be included in here, or would that be too much information for in here?
That sounds to me like a bylaws,
Okay,
because if you could say that about, well, I don't know. To me, the trustee training would be a bylaws edition versus in here.
okay,
Because I don't know, I'm trying to think of every other policy we have that might include, because the trustees approve all the policies,
right,
trying to think of what else. But I know this is specific to trustees reviewing bills, so you could put something here, or you could amend your bylaws that talk about training and
Okay.
responsibilities.
okay. So maybe that's something we can look at then, is the bylaws with, in the future, with responsibilities and training. Or onboarding, right, new trustees. Yeah, cause when I found that out, I felt awful that I did not know. I don't know if anyone else has been in that boat, but I'll admit it.
I come from an accounting background, so I come from a reviewing bills
Yeah.
background, so I kind of had an advantage there. And my trainer was a very detail-oriented trainer,
Yeah.
so I kind of had the best of both there. So I just also think it is subjective. It's not objective. We are an oversight body, and in any organization, whoever is responsible for reviewing the bills, it is at their discretion to only look over a certain threshold, to kind of gauge their department's abilities and target their attentions, the frequency of checks and the nature of checks that way. So you can't beat yourself up about that because first of all, you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And then on top of that, to say it's not a right or wrong either. There's other controls in place, and the oversight is meant to be oversight. It's not
And
meant.
hopefully the
it
other
is-
trustee who was assigned the same month I was always
Yeah,
checking
you're
those ones in
not-
the back as well.
Yeah,
Which is maybe why there's two. Right?
that as well. That is exactly the point. The control is strong enough that it has those kind of fail safes in.
Thank you. Okay, all right, so I'm good with this, and then we'll see about the C with the auditor thing potentially being added in. Yes?
Mhm.
Okay. All right, so then we're good, we're gonna send this to the full board, and we'll see kind of what the director is able to get to us before then. All right, great. So item 11 on the agenda is director job description preliminary discussion. I know we have included this in previous packets before, but we haven't really spent too much time discussing it because we wanted to work on getting the director's evaluation done. And so what I wanted to do today was actually assign everyone some homework for you to. Marjorie, she's like, oh no, Emily. For you to kind of review it on your own, look it over, see if there's things that you feel like don't really make sense, if you have ideas about formatting, looking differently, or if there's things that you think are outdated. And then also if you have any grand ideas about how to tie in what we did with the director evaluation back to the director's job description, because I feel like they should kind of go hand in hand as far as this is the director's job description, this is how the director's being evaluated, they should mesh. So you can, for your homework, you can go as in-depth or as not in-depth as you choose to. I just really want everyone to have spend some time thinking about it before we meet again to discuss it. Because I feel like if we've all kind of taken that time to review it and compared the two together, that will be helpful. If you need another copy of the evaluation that we approved, if you could let Tatiana know and she can send it to you again via email, that would be great. And then as far as a timeline for completing this homework assignment, really it's kind of up to you when you want to do it. We'll figure out when we will have another personnel policy committee meeting, and we'll just discuss it at the next one. I don't want it to go too far out just because of the fact that I want it to stay fresh in our heads. But I know we have other things going on as well with the board. Okay, does anyone have any questions, thoughts? Jenny, you're thinking something?
No, I'm all right. I'm reading ahead
Okay.
for my homework.
Sarah?
No questions.
Okay, Marjorie?
Good with that.
Then it gives us kind of some time to, and then we're not gonna sit here and read through and, like, I would much prefer us to have that because especially like what we did, I felt like it worked really well when we were working on the evaluation form where you all submitted your homework to the director and then she forwarded it to me and then I was able to pull it all together to bring it forward, and that was easier for me as well. So this is kind of making it easier for me as the chair of the committee too. So I appreciate that. Okay, so we'll have the timeline for that later. Anything else that anyone needs to discuss, feels a strong urge to talk about before we adjourn?
I just had a question. I think that you did this.
Yes.
I should know this. In the July 14th minutes.
Yes.
Under your committee reports, you indicated there was an updated draft of the evaluation. So everything we talked about, is that included in this current form?
It went to the full board. So that was what went to the full board.
Right.
So that's what we agreed on was what went to the full board.
Okay, so this is,
So that should be, because remember we had like those little bit of edits?
Yes.
And then at the full board, everyone agreed to
okay,
what it was.
I had
and
notes
then-
to that effect, but
Right? I was gonna say, it didn't change after that.
okay.
Right.
But then, do we formally adopt this?
We did.
We did,
We did adopt
okay.
it. What we
Okay.
need to do though is add a executive session, discuss the self-directed goals
Right,
for this fiscal
Okay.
year. And then we can, in open session, we can discuss board-directed goals if we
Okay.
have them. But we had said before in our committee that we would do the self-directed goals first to see if her self-directed goals matched up with what our board-directed goals would be, and so we weren't redundant
okay.
having it in both places.
Just wanted to confirm
That's my
that.
recollection.
Right, we said there's going to be self-directed goals and board-directed goals are optional to the extent that we feel that there's anything that should be added.
Thank you. Okay,
Okay?
all right,
Mm-hmm.
okay. Then can I get a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. We are adjourned at 11 o'clock on the dot.